And you walk into a room to sign the contract, right? But before you even sit down, your opponent looks you dead in the eye
Oh, this is the
and
famous.
tells everyone in the room that you were, like, too cowardly to face him a year ago.
Just completely calls you out.
Totally. And he doesn't just promise to beat you, he promises to physically smash you in front of the whole world.
Yeah, which is, I mean, that's not just standard trash talk.
No, not at all. That is calculated psychological warfare. And it's exactly what's happening right now in the lead up to this highly anticipated Road to UFC semifinal clash, which is scheduled for late August.
It's just a uniquely volatile situation. We're looking at this environment where athletes are actively trying to break each other mentally, way before they are even allowed to touch each other physically.
Right. Which is the core of our deep dive today. We've gathered a stack of MMA analysis from 3 different sports commentary sources, and we are unpacking all of it.
Yeah, and it's a fascinating matchup.
It really is. We are looking at Nepal's Rabindra Dhant, who is widely known as the Himalayan Tiger. He holds a massive 10-1 professional record.
The 10-1 record is nothing to sneeze at.
Seriously.
Yeah.
And then across from him is New Zealand's Kasib Murdoch, who is this undefeated prospect sitting at a perfect 8-0.
Right, the undefeated guy.
Yeah. But as we comb through these sources, it becomes incredibly clear that this fight isn't just, a math equation of who punches harder.
Far from it, honestly.
Yeah.
What the analysts have uncovered here is just this fascinating multi-layered case study. I mean, we were looking at a masterclass in narrative control, like we mentioned, but also a literal collision of 2 entirely different worlds of training infrastructure.
Yeah, the resources are so different.
Exactly. And on top of that, it's a tactical chess match that really challenges some of the oldest philosophies in combat sports.
So true. And, even if you don't watch MMA, this deep dive is going to be a masterclass in how different people handle extreme pressure, resources, and mind games. So let's start with that narrative control, because the tension here, it started way before the ink was even dry on the contract.
Oh, way before.
According to our sources, Murdoch really initiated this by launching a very specific narrative into the public sphere. He claimed that about a year ago out in Bali, he had proposed a fight to Dhant, and Dhant just flat out ducked him.
Right, just completely avoided the fight.
Yeah, exactly. Murdoch painted this picture in a fighter who was simply too scared to accept the challenge, and he's using that exact story to fuel his current prediction that he's going to, walk into the octagon, smash Dhant, and put him to sleep in the very first round.
And, that kind of accusation, it serves a very specific psychological function.
How so?
Well, by framing his opponent as someone who was, already retreating before a fight even officially materialized, Murdoch is actively trying to establish a hierarchy of fear.
Wow, a hierarchy fair. That makes sense.
Yeah, he wants the public, the promoters, and most importantly, Dhant himself, to sort of subconsciously accept that Murdoch is the predator and Dhant is the prey.
Oh, I see.
It's an attempt to win the fight in the mind before the referee ever signals the start.
But, Don's team, Soma Fight Club, they clearly recognized what was happening, right? Because they just refused to let that narrative settle.
Oh, they fired right back.
They did. They took to social media and completely tore into Murdoch's story. They stated that Murdoch was entirely confused and was actually thinking of a completely different fighter named Yukiyoung Dembe.
Yeah. They didn't just correct the record, though. They really went on the offensive.
They absolutely did. They accused Murdoch of harboring what they called a, quote, South Islander mentality.
Right. Basically claiming his mix-up was because, in his eyes, all Asians look the same.
Yeah, it got super heated. And to escalate things even further, they publicly called Murdoch out for actively deleting or hiding their clarifying comments on his social media pages, just to protect his version of the story.
Which is pretty intense, and obviously our sources make it clear we are just reporting this exchange here to illustrate the sheer toxicity surrounding this matchup.
Right. We're not taking sides here.
Exactly. Neither side is backing down, and the accusations are heavy.
But wait, let's look at the physical realities here for a second, because I think there's something hiding beneath all this loud, aggressive posturing.
Oh, absolutely.
When you look the tail of the tape provided by the analysts, Murdoch has some glaring physical disadvantages. We are talking about a fighter who is 5'4.5", going up against Dhant, who stands at 5'7.5".
Yeah, the height difference is significant, but honestly, the real story is the wingspan.
Right, the reach.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Dhant has a critical 4-inch reach advantage over Murdoch.
Which, to me, really makes me question Murdoch's entire pre-fight strategy.
How do you mean?
Well, is this supreme confidence we're seeing, or is this just a massive smokescreen? Like, if you are facing a guy who is taller and has 4 extra inches of reach on you, talking super loudly about how you're going to smash him in the first round, it feels a lot like a poker player, you know?
Shoving all their chips in.
Yes.
Hmm?
Shoving all their chips to the center of the table while secretly holding a terrible hand. Like, he's the much smaller man trying to act like a giant.
That's a brilliant observation, actually, because in combat sports, distance management dictates everything.
Right.
That 4-inch reach advantage fundamentally means Dant has a physical zone where he can hit Murdoch, but Murdoch literally cannot reach him.
Wow. So to land a strike, Murdoch has to physically step inside Dant's firing range.
Exactly. So Murdoch's bravado and, his attempts to curate his social media comments, it might indeed be a defense mechanism to mask his concern about bridging that gap.
That makes so much sense.
He wants Dant fighting emotionally, right? Throwing wild, angry punches, rather than fighting strategically and using that length.
But, that 4-inch reach advantage doesn't just dictate how they throw punches. When you look at the sources, that physical difference perfectly mirrors the massive disparity in how these two athletes were built.
The backgrounds couldn't be more different.
Totally. We are looking at a classic collision between what analysts call a first world machine and raw, tested mountain grit.
The contrast in their resources is just staggering. I mean, Kasib Murdoch is a product of absolute elite sports science.
The best of best.
Yeah, before he ever went pro, he was an MF world champion. That's the International Mixed Martial Arts Federation for those listening.
Right.
He amassed an amateur streak of 25-0, had 43 amateur boxing matches, and he operates out of Australia, training alongside Alexander Volkanovski's elite team.
And for anyone listening who might not follow the sport closely, Volkanovski is a former UFC champion. He is widely considered one of the greatest featherweights to ever live. So training in that room means you aren't just hitting heavy bags.
No, you are enveloped in a multi-million-dollar performance ecosystem.
Yeah.
Murdoch has access to, dedicated head coaches, specialized conditioning experts, nutritionists who are measuring his macros down to the gram.
Chiropractors, sports psychologists.
Exactly. His entire physical and mental existence is optimized, quantified, and fine-tuned for pure human performance.
And then you look at Rabindra Dhant, and it is a completely different universe.
Literally night and day.
He comes from Bajhang, which is this remarkably rugged, mountainous region in Nepal. And his foundational martial arts background isn't from some high-tech sports institute with, heart rate monitors.
No, not at all.
He learned traditional karate while he was working in India just to make ends meet. And today he trains at Lock and Roll MMA in Nepal under Duakar PL Lama, and he does his fight camps at Soma Fight Club in Bali under Yusuf Wabi.
And to be fair, those are certainly respected coaches and solid gyms.
Oh, for sure.
But they represent a fundamentally different reality than the sports science machine operating down in Australia.
Right.
I mean, making it all the way to the road to UFC semifinals without Murdoch's level of elite infrastructure is, as several analysts actually put it, nothing short of a miracle for Dhant.
It's wild. It's like Murdoch's training setup is essentially like...
Yes. The body produces more red blood cells to carry what little oxygen is available. So when a fighter like Dhant comes down to sea level to compete, his blood is basically hyperoxygenated.
Meaning he can just keep going when other fighters start drowning in fatigue.
Precisely.
Mm-hmm.
His lactic acid buffering is exceptional. And when you add to that the sheer mental grit required to just carve a professional career out of those conditions, you have a deeply, deeply resilient athlete.
Wow. Okay, so to understand how this greenhouse plant and this concrete weed actually interact inside the cage, we need to dig into the tactical chess match.
The fun part.
Right. Let's look at their specific win conditions, starting with Murdoch. He desperately needs to neutralize that 4-inch reach disadvantage.
He does. Murdoch's path to victory relies entirely on overwhelming grappling mastery.
Because of his height.
Yeah, because he is 5'4.5", he is in extreme danger if he stays in what fighters call the pocket, that intermediate range where strikes are exchanged.
Right. If he stands there, Dhant will systematically pick him apart from the outside.
Exactly. Murdoch has to completely bypass the striking range. His objective is to close the distance instantly, secure an early takedown, and drag Dhant into deep water on the mat.
And once they are on the mat, our sources note he is specifically hunting for his signature arm triangle choke, which is actually the exact move he used to finish Yosuke Minami in the quarterfinals.
And for those listening who haven't spent time on a jiu-jitsu mat, an arm triangle isn't just squeezing someone's neck.
No, it looks intense.
It is an incredibly precise biomechanical trap. Murdoch aims to isolate Dhant's arm, push it across Dhant's own neck, and then use his own body weight to squeeze.
So you're choking them with their own shoulder.
Basically, yeah. You are effectively trapping your opponent's own shoulder against their carotid artery, cutting off the blood flow to the brain.
Wow.
It's suffocating, it requires immense technical pressure, and it puts people to sleep in seconds.
That is just terrifying.
It really is.
But the thing is, Dhant knows exactly what Murdoch wants to do. Dhant's win condition is the absolute inverse. The analysts categorize him as an aggressive, orthodox striker with serious, verified knockout power.
Oh yeah, he hits hard.
The sources highlight that 8 of his 10 professional wins have come by knockout, or TKO.
Which is a huge ratio.
Yeah.
And being an orthodox striker means Dhant fights with his left foot and left shoulder forward, keeping his dominant right hand cocked in the rear for maximum power generation.
Okay.
He wants to use his left hand, his jab, to constantly measure that 4-inch reach advantage, creating a physical barrier.
So keeping him at bay.
Right. He'll utilize long-range weapons, specifically kicks and knees, to punish Murdoch the moment he tries to step forward.
And what's fascinating is that the analysts completely reject the promotional narrative here.
Yeah, they do.
Because you usually see these fights sold as the classic striker versus grappler trope, but the sources overwhelmingly agree that Dhant is actually the more complete, well-rounded mixed martial artist.
Which is a huge twist. While Murdoch is undeniably world-class once the fight hits the ground, his stand-up striking is viewed by analysts as, well, fairly average.
Really?
Yeah, he leaves defensive gaps when he throws punches. Dhant, conversely, isn't just a knockout artist.
Right.
He possesses highly underrated takedown defense, he understands leverage, he knows how to drop his center of gravity, and he has a highly reliable ground game.
So he's not totally helpless if he gets taken down.
Not at all. He isn't a fish out of water if he ends up on his back. He knows how to survive, create space, and get back to his feet.
But wait, hold on. If Dhant's striking is that lethal, right, and if he has a 4-inch reach advantage, and if he actually knows how to defend a takedown, how does a much shorter fighter like Murdoch realistically plan to bridge that physical gap without getting knocked out?
That is the defining question of the fight.
I mean, he can't just teleport to Dhant's hips. He has to literally walk through the fire to get to the grapple.
To bridge that gap, Murdoch has to take massive risks. He cannot simply shoot for a takedown from 5 feet away. Dhant will easily step aside or catch him with a knee. So Murdoch has to time Dhant's strikes perfectly.
Oh, that sounds dangerous.
It is. He has to wait for Dhant to throw a punch, slip his head off the center line to avoid the impact, and use that fraction of a second to grab a leg or push Dhant against the cage fence to neutralize the open space.
So he's going to get hit?
Most likely, yeah. He will almost certainly have to absorb physical damage just to get close enough to initiate his grappling.
Which brings us to what the sources identify as the absolute mental turning point of this matchup. Because we can talk about orthodox stances and arm triangles all day, but tactics only matter until the actual violence starts.
Exactly. Plans go out the window pretty fast.
The analysts pinpoint one specific, inevitable sequence in this fight that will likely dictate the entire outcome. And it all hinges on the opening moments.
Because every 6 martial arts fight, without exception, begins on the feet.
Right.
The referee signals the start, and there is open space between them.
And because of that open space, Murdoch is sort of forced to make the first major move. He must go for a takedown. He really has no viable alternative against a striker of Dhant's caliber.
None at all.
The sources specifically draw a comparison here to one of Dhant's previous fights against a wrestler named Chungreng.
Oh, that's a great comparison. In that bout, Koren had the exact same game plan as Murdoch.
Yeah.
Get the striker to the mat immediately.
And what happened?
Well, Dhant anticipated it. He successfully defended those early takedown attempts. And by stuffing the takedowns, Dhant completely dismantled Koren's strategy.
Wow.
He exhausted him and eventually secured a TKO victory in the 3rd round.
So the analysts are asking what happens to Murdoch if history repeats itself?
Right.
What happens when the unstoppable grappler meets the immovable object?
And the consensus is pretty absolute. The moment Dhant stops Kasib Murdoch's very first takedown attempt, the entire physical and psychological landscape of the fight shifts.
Let's dig into the why there. Like, if Murdoch shoots for a leg and misses, or, I don't know, Dhant pushes him off, why is that so catastrophic? Can't Murdoch just back up, reset, and try again a few seconds later?
Physically, yeah, he can. But the biological and psychological toll is massive.
Really?
Yes. Wrestling requires an explosive amount of energy. Shooting for a takedown and hitting a brick wall causes a massive adrenaline dump and literally floods the muscles with lactic acid.
Oh, wow. So he's just burning through his energy reserves.
Yeah, exactly. But more importantly, Murdoch is banking heavily on early ground control to drain Dhant's energy and, validate his own confidence.
Yeah.
Failing that first attempt shatters his momentum.
So it's the greenhouse dropping by 2 degrees.
Exactly.
He has built this entire public narrative that he is untouchable, that he is the predator, that Dhant is terrified of him. The exact moment he grabs hold of Dhant and realizes he cannot move him, that illusion completely breaks.
It completely breaks his morale. And once a fighter's morale drops, their reaction time slows down.
That makes sense.
If Murdoch is stuck on his feet at a distance he cannot manage, his confidence shaken, he is completely exposed to Dhant's relentless pace.
And this is where the altitude training kicks in.
Precisely. This is where Dhant's high-altitude training takes over. While Murdoch is heavy breathing from a failed wrestling exchange, Dhant will be operating with hyperoxygenated blood, just throwing those explosive right hands. Murdoch will find himself drowning in very deep, very dangerous waters.
What strikes me about this analysis isn't just the mechanics of combat.
What is it?
It is the raw reality of the human mind under extreme pressure. Think about how the first sign of real resistance can completely unravel a person who isn't used to it.
Oh, absolutely.
Whether you are an athlete in a cage or, just navigating a high-stakes moment in your own life, if you are accustomed to everything going perfectly according to a carefully curated plan, that first unexpected failure can feel like the end of the world.
Yeah, because true resilience is never really about how well you execute your plan A. It is entirely about how quickly your nervous system recalibrates when your primary strategy is forcefully denied. And Murdoch has never had his primary strategy denied in his professional career.
Never.
So we literally do not know how his mind will react when the script gets flipped.
Which is exactly what makes this Road to UFC semifinal absolutely required viewing. So to bring all of this together for you, the listener, we are looking at a high-stakes collision driven by disputed claims and fierce psychological warfare.
It's just a classic matchup.
It really is. It pits the elite, perfectly resourced, undefeated grappling machine against battle-tested, high-altitude striking grit. It is a study in what happens when flawless optimization meets raw survival.
And I think it serves as a powerful reminder that understanding the mechanisms behind pressure, resource disparity, and tactical execution, it provides a totally different lens through which to view human competition. The fighter with the most resources isn't always the most dangerous person in the room.
Before we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave you with a final thought to mull over. We spent a lot of time discussing Kasib Murdoch's perfect record today.
Right, the 8-0.
Yeah, he is undefeated. He has never tasted a loss in his professional or amateur career. And on paper, that makes him terrifying. But is a flawless record actually a hidden vulnerability?
Oh, that's a fascinating question.
Right. What happens to a human being who has never been broken, who has never had to reconstruct their own confidence from a devastating defeat when they finally sprint full speed into a wall they cannot climb? How do you survive the deep water if you've never actually been forced to swim for your life? Until next time, keep diving deep.